Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the CryptoCeej with our first episode of Talk That Talk Thursdays. I'm your host, CJ Miller. I'm really excited about being able to do this. This is going to be a really cool hang. A lot of you probably know that my journey into this space, into podcasting, doing videos and live stream, started in the digital asset space with crypto back in late 2016, early 2017. But I decided to do this from, I got some input from a couple of people at some events that I met. And I decided, why not do that? Why not just kind of share my thoughts and views in the political space and the business space and the world event space, and just kind of talk and kind of hang out and kind of see what's good, and you guys get a chance to kind of see what are Ceej's political views. Where does he stand on some stuff? So again, I am your host, CJ Miller. That's the first for a lot of people don't know that, but who don't know who I am. But yeah, I wanted to do this. I want to hang out for a bit. And we're probably going to do I'll get to espouse some things and maybe talk for about, 15 to 30 minutes. And then what I'm also going to do in this live stream is, the following 15 to 30 minutes after I kind of, rant for a little bit, I'll let you guys ask me some questions, which is going to be pretty cool. And it can be around crypto if you want, but it can be around political stuff, worldviews. I'm going straight for the heart, Keyless. I'm going straight for the heart, talking about Black Lives Matter, right? I'm getting right into it. I'm not gonna, where's that word? Pussyfoot around, I guess is the word, beat around the bushes, right? And I think this will be a cool hang because again, you guys will get to kind of know who I am. And I'll get to learn more about you guys as well. So it's going to be a really cool hang. And so I just discovered some news today. I don't know when this came out. Maybe this came out a month ago, but Black Lives Matters, I believe they just filed for bankruptcy. And I think the organization, and I think, right, so we could talk all about Black Lives Matter, right? But the fact that they got $90 million in donations as a nonprofit. Listen, I don't know if that's abnormal, if that's normal, unusual, if it's really low, 90 million for a nonprofit organization. I have no idea. But the idea that they, I believe, filed bankruptcy, according to this article, have filed for bankruptcy, is a little alarming to me. Now, why is this? Okay, yeah, it's a little alarming for me. And also, what's going on right now? We'll talk a little bit about the troops being sent. The idea that sent out, U.S. troops are being sent out in this war. We're going to get into that a little bit as well. I think that's interesting. 2,000 U.S. troops. I'll share my personal opinion. I'm certainly not saying it's right or wrong, but I'll give my viewpoint on the U.S. making this decision to send troops out there to this war, Israel, Palestine, Israel, the Hamas, whatever. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. I'll go over an article from NBC News about this 2,000 troops being prepared to be sent out there and give my views on that. So listen, let's get into Black Lives Matter in this financial situation first. This is interesting. I'll share, and I'm going to read here. I'm going to share my screen. $90 million in filing for bankruptcy, if I understand this article to be correct, seems a little bit, it feels off. 90 million and having to file bankruptcy. 90 million, like I think 2021 reached those numbers, and bankruptcy, not even 2 years later, seems a little bit off. So let's get into this real quick. BLM finances under fire. It says, according to this article, only 33% of donations given to charities as executives were paid millions. So out of that 90 million, a third of that, 30 million was given to charities. Again, I'm not in the charities organization space, so I don't know what's typical, atypical, unusual. I don't know, but let's go over this article. Black Lives Matter's finances are under scrutiny once again as tax documents show the nonprofit is on the brink of bankruptcy. The organization ended last year in the red, so they're in the brink of bankruptcy, while doling out to those while doling out millions to those close to BLM's founders. So that's the deal, right? Tax documents are in the red, 9 million. It's a nonprofit. I get the whole tax thing. I get the tax thing, charitable contribution. I get the whole filing for taxes and showing that you're in the red, right? You want to claim some losses. But this is BLM. This is an organization that got $90 million in donations. It says here, following the murder of George Floyd in 2020, supporters donated a staggering $90 million to Black Lives Matter. The nonprofit ended the fiscal year with a $9 million deficit. The federal filings from 2020 to 2022 show just a third, 30 million of the 90 went to other charitable organizations, with 22 million going to expenses. This includes 1.6 million that went to the father of BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors for security services. I don't know what this person's father does for a living. 1.6 million security services. Another 2.1 million went into the BLM board member Shalamaya Bowers for consulting. I feel vindicated, says this rapper here. I feel vindicated because 2 years ago, I said that this organization was a disingenuous scam, and it has proven itself to be a disingenuous scam. This is from Zuby, a rapper. Okay. All right. So Cullors left BLM leadership in 2021 after documents revealed she spent millions on luxury homes in Los Angeles and Georgia. And I remember hearing a little bit about that. And so, anyway, let me keep reading and I'll tell you some stuff here. Last week, she took to Instagram to address the latest round of criticism. For the last 2.5 years, I've been relentlessly attacked by the media. So many lies and so much mis and disinformation. They are all heck bent on destroying my life, she wrote. In the past few years, BLM has been highly criticized by families of victims they use to fundraise. Breonna Taylor's mother referred to the organization as a fraud in a Facebook post. In 2021, Tamir Rice's mother told the New York Post they are benefiting off the blood of our loved ones and they won't even talk to us. So now, again, this is some perspective. Breonna Taylor's mother, we all remember that tragic death. Tamir Rice's mother, right? So it's not throwing shade. You know, you can't use kind of like this, well, they just want to hate on the BLM thing. These are people that were supposed to be represented, looked to the BLM organization, the Black Lives Matter organization, and this is what they're saying, how they were treated. Right? It says here, this organization has been capitalizing off of unfortunate deaths and tragedies and guilt tripping people into sending them lots of money and donations, which I believe most people think is going to go to a good cause. And instead, they are paying themselves 6- and 7-figure salaries. Columnist Adam Coleman told Fox News, no checks or balances to it at all. It seems really haphazard. They have no idea what they're doing, and it shows. Looks like they are slowly going under. That's not a great look, right? That is not a great look at all. It's all over now, Ceej. We won. The SEC just gave in. The SEC just gave in like in total complete. All right, I'm going to cover that. But let me go over this BLM thing. We're going to go over this Colin Hughes. Thanks for sharing, my friend. Look, BLM matters. Look, again, this is Talk That Talk Thursdays. And for me here, we'll speak to this and then we'll speak to my views on BLM, right? Just my personal views. I'm not asking anyone to agree with my views. I'm just sharing them, right? We can all have an adult conversation, agree to disagree. I'm all good. I'm still gonna love you anyway, because I'm a God-fearing dude. So it ain't gonna matter to me. I'm still gonna love you anyway. Ain't gonna be no hate here, ever. And I'm not gonna take anything that you may say or disagree with me as personal either. That's not how I roll, bro. Right? That's not how I roll, right? So anyway, so let me do this. This is not great, right? $90 million and $90 million and you're in the brink of bankruptcy is not great. The federal documents are showing the misappropriation of funds. You got the founder and co-founder buying, houses in two different parts of the country. Not a great look, right? You got family members involved, and now, security services for this, consulting for that. It's just not a great look. It's not a great look at all. Right. And it's funny because in my household is a household of, right, it's me, little Miss CryptoCeej. Miss CryptoCeej is European. She's not from this country, although she is currently she's a citizen. Right. And I'm a street kid from Brooklyn. Right. And so a lot of people, keyless, they'll kind of think that I lean in a different direction, right, because of my upbringing and projects of New York. Right. And military kid, again, a street kid from Brooklyn. Right. The ultimate bottom line is this: I've never been a fan of BLM matters. It was always very obvious to me what this was about, without question. As soon as I heard about Soros, I knew this was not a great look. I just knew, right? This particular demographic, the African American community, has been used and abused for political agendas since I can remember. That is a fact. That's a fact. It's been used and abused for agendas for as long as I can remember. And I knew that about BLM, right? So for my personal thing on BLM, it's like, I didn't get it. I didn't get the need for it, right? So I remember at one time I said to myself, they're obviously using the killings and the police brutality, the police murders. Obviously after George Floyd thing, I thought to myself, okay, I see. But then I thought, it doesn't make sense. It didn't add up. And especially when I heard about the Soros thing. You guys remember when the reports on the street, the word on the street was Soros was sending in people, paying for them to go to these different places and start protesting. And look, common sense. George Soros is not a friend of this country, of capitalism, of democracy. He's not a fan. He's not a fan of that. And my understanding is to do with just his life's goal is to see the U.S. no longer be the world's leader. Period, point blank, full stop. So as soon as I heard about George Soros being involved in it, come on. I just knew, not great. Not great. Not great. And it's just a sad truth that this particular demographic, the African-American, Black American community, has been used politically or to push people's personal agenda, right? And as an African-American male, I know for a fact, right, that I'll never forget when I turned 18, having this conversation with the person who helped raise me, which was my aunt, wondering what I was going to do in the military when it came to voting. And she just assumed that I was going to be doing the Democrat thing because, well, this is what we've done. This is what we've done. This is what our family's done. This is what they've done historically. Right? And I remember thinking to myself, I joined the United States military straight out of high school. A few months later, I became born again. A few months later, I joined my first enterprise entrepreneurial thing in network marketing, right? And so by the time I'm 20, right, I'm going to church, read the Bible. I'm going to business events. I'm learning about entrepreneurship. I'm learning about free enterprise and capital. I'm young, very young age. But I had 18 years of another side of things, right? So I grew up in New York with the police situation. That wasn't great. That wasn't a great situation in growing up in New York. I'm a street kid, got all of the typical project, bad neighborhood, people getting thrown off buildings, drugs, whatever, all that nonsense. I grew up in that, right? And then I joined the military, and I got to see a different side. I got to see how things could be. And I went in a different direction. And so as far as I can tell, personally, I went in a completely different direction than my family history. Love my family. Take a bullet for them. And they would take a bullet for me in a heartbeat. And my family is my mom, my sister, my cousins, my aunt, my uncles. I grew up with my cousins, right? I grew up with them because my mother had issues from a very, very, very young age. And so I grew up, little bit of public school, all of junior high school, and all of high school. I'm living with my aunt and her 4 children, my 4 cousins, right? And so, so everyone had kind of this political thing, and it didn't make sense to me. None of it made sense to me. I'm the oldest person. I'm standing in lines for free food, right? Because I'm the oldest. We got the social services thing going on, right? We got the food stamps going on, right? And I'm thinking, it didn't make sense. None of it made sense to me. It just never did. Absolutely no one ever brought up the military to me. No one. Like no one. I made that decision on my own. Like just on my own. This is where I'm going, because I'm not going that direction. I made the decision on my own in New York, and you probably don't notice, but in New York, in the public school system, the way it works is you kind of get dished out to the neighborhood stuff. The neighborhood public school, the neighborhood junior high school, the neighborhood high school. I didn't do that. I didn't do it. I went outside of the neighborhood for junior high school. I went outside of the neighborhood for high school. I had to leave the boroughs, go to upstate New York to be able to do it, but that's what I did. No one asked me to do that. No one talked to me about doing it. I just did it. And my point to all this rambling is I just always had this sense of going in a different direction. So the BLM thing just didn't make sense to me. I've learned later in life, you understand, I'm in the military now, right? I'm in the military. I'm seeing people from all demographics and stuff like that. But I experienced that in junior high school, right? As a young lad in junior high school, I experienced that, right? In junior high school. Hold on 1 second. And so anyway, Black Lives Matter, it's a no-go for me. It never made any sense. Never, ever, ever made sense to me. Colin Hughes says it best. Ceej, you are my brother. I have white skin. All lives matter. Isn't it real simple? And you guys know from my crypto channel that I always talk about their agenda is to get you and I to war with one another. Period, point blank, full stop. It's not just in the digital asset space. It's us in life. That's what they want, to keep us distracted while they go and do their things for them. They call themselves the global elite. I call them old money. That's what I use old money for, because I don't like to use them or put them in a category of being elite anything, like anything, right? So I call it old money. But to me, it just always makes sense to me. It just always did. I had a young mentor as a young man, 19, 20 years old, this guy from, right, did not have the color of skin that I have, from Indiana. And this dude took me in, right? Took me in, educated me. We were in business together, taught me the ins and outs of life, told me about his personal experience growing up in Indiana. This dude was, when I met him, I'm going to say 50. I'm 19, 20, telling me his experience about him growing up in Indiana. And we stay up late night, just me and him, just talking. He was a millionaire guy, taking me around all these properties and stuff that he owned in Virginia. It was an interesting experience because I never had a father. Like my aunt raised me single parent type deal. right? But it was an interesting thing. I learned a different side of it. I learned to see things differently. What's possible. This was the guy who took me in and mentored me and said, this is what you can do. You can do whatever it is that you want to do, right? And so the BLM thing just does not make sense to me. Now, here's the other thing that I want to share with you guys. This troops in this madness that is called war. Like, I served, where's my thing at here, right? So I served, right? Right. So again, I'm a street kid from Brooklyn. I joined the military straight out of high school, right? Straight out of high school, right? So I get a sense of having served this country at a very young age, right? Now I was fortunate that, the time that I was in the military, there wasn't any major wars going on. A major war really didn't start until after I exited. But here's from NBC News. It says about 2,000 U.S. troops told to prepare for deployment in response to Israel and Hamas war. There's a fine here, and you keyless. You know how I am about bugs. I hope I got it. But yeah, told to prepare for deployment. U.S. troops told to prepare for deployment. It says the troops wouldn't necessarily go to Israel or Gaza, but would likely arrive in a nearby country. It says the defense official told NBC News. About 2,000 troops have been put on prepared to deploy orders for possible support to Israel, according to a defense official. So there's not much to read in the article here. That is the word. And I'm just going to share how I feel about that. Colin Hughes, you're 1,000% correct, my friend. Evil is a real thing. It is. And I refuse to fall for the divide and conquer thing. I refuse to fall into this getting me to war with my neighbor. No. It's one thing when you come to cause harm to me and my family. That's a different story. But, for me to try to, take my walking papers or walking orders from some other group or organization, just because some other group or organization says so, no. So I ain't falling for it. I make no qualms about it. I'm a God-fearing, right? God-fearing dude. That is who I am, right? Born and saved, early teenager, maybe I was 20, I don't remember, right? That's who I am. Family's Baptist, it comes from the Baptist background, but that's who I am, God-fearing. And for me, everything has always been love thy neighbor as I would love myself. So I am not falling for it. That's just me. This is what I raise my family. I am not falling for it. I'm going to give you a history of my family one day. You guys are going to be tripped out when I tell you about my family, because little Miss Ceej has siblings. Yeah. Now, some would call them step, but we never rolled that way in our family. All right. Colin Hughes says just a little bit jealous. It's just son dad is better than mine. Yeah, I hear you, bro. Right? God bless you too, bro. Keela says, wow, Ceej, being so young, making life-changing decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Colin says, does everyone have to join the Army in the U.S.? No, they do not. They do not. Nope, sure don't. They don't have to. Alex Jeets in the building. What's going on, bro? You've been quiet. Mr. XRP All In has been quiet. What's going on, fam? So that's my take on the BLM. Here's my take on the U.S. troops. My take is this. Our house, this is not 1984, 86, 88. Our house in the U.S. is an absolute, it's not great. It's a mess. It's not great. People here in the U.S. are hurting. So the idea of sending, all kind of dollars someplace, the idea of sending troops and putting U.S. troops in harm's way, I am not a fan of it. I am not a fan of it. And I think in the U.S., we got to accept the fact that it is not about our thing and how, remember back in the 80s and the 70s, the US was they were the poster child of democracy and capitalism and spreading out, taking our thing and our views and putting on another nation, under the guise that we were saving that nation. Those days are over. Those days are over. No one's trying to hear that anymore. Alex G, no one's trying to hear that anymore. Each nation wants to do their own thing, right? So let them figure out the in-house fighting. Let them figure out their fiscal and monetary policies, right? What about the ones that can't defend themselves? Who can't defend themselves? Is Israel one of those people? Is Israel one of those can't defend themselves people? I think not. I think not. I think they're good. I think they can defend themselves pretty good. So in this particular situation, this little Palestine, Israel thing, US troops preparing for deployment, I'm not with it. I am not with it. I think they can take care of themselves. That's what I think. We're going to talk on another Talk That Talk Thursday about the Ukraine war and Russia. We'll talk about that another time. Because our house is not in order. I'll just tell you that. It's just not. It would be one thing if it was in order. We got surplus money. We got surplus jobs. We're in the surplus. Everyone is Shangri-La. We're not warring with one another. We don't have all kind of madness going on in schools. We don't have all these agendas for all this kind of identity crises that we apparently are in. It would be one thing if that wasn't the case, but that is the case. And we can't afford to be dishing out and doling out our resources, fiscally, money, emotionally, our hearts, soul. We can't afford it. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, we can't afford it. We are hurting. We have to figure out our own stuff. How can you help someone get in shape if you ain't in shape? Come on already. We're not in shape. In fact, we're out of shape. And we got to figure out some stuff in-house first. Then we can think about and consider some other stuff. Keelan says some people are still there. Yeah, absolutely. They still think that that's who we are, but we're not that. Let's be honest. Are we that? Are we saving nations? Have you not read the Confessions of an Economic Hitman, books 1 and 2? I always say books 1 and 2. It's the Confessions, and then there's the New Confessions. That's the title. I don't know if we were ever that, to be honest with you, Keelis. I don't know that we ever were that. I don't know personally if we went to places with a serving agenda and not our personal agenda wrapped around that serving agenda. I don't know that if that was ever the case, to be honest with you. So there it is. That's my Talk That Talk on those two particular topics. They're sending out troops in this BLM, 90 million in the brink of bankruptcy. It's not a great look. Anyone would have a brain to look at that and see what happened. Anyone, and I can tell you one thing, anyone from the hood would tell you straight up, that was a cash cow. That was a cash cow move, and they knew it. They 1,000% knew it. They knew it. Yeah, I'm killing a fly in my. They knew it. It's cash cows the way I see it. Look, I hope they did some good. I hope. I mean, 30 million ain't nothing. I mean, they just out a third of that 90 million to some charities. That's not nothing. You have to say that as well. All right, guys. So you guys can ask me some questions. Well, let me Where is this news? If this news on X, let me go over this news. Colin Hughes is saying, look, it's over. Colin Hughes is saying it's over. The SEC is not doing anything against Brad and Chris. Is this the word I'm getting? Okay, there it is. Let me share it with you. There it is. The SEC has made their decision. I think they're kind of trying to save their resources and stuff for another day. Let me go over this. Colin Hughes, thanks for sharing this, my friend. This is from Jimmy James K. filing 1 hour ago. Breaking, case dismissed against Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. Ho, what's good? They had one or two choices. They could dismiss this case, and I know, what's his name? Jeremy Hogan from Legal Briefs was telling us the options there. All right, let's go through this. Here, stipulation of voluntary dismissal. Let's go. It is hereby stipulated and agreed by and between the parties and or their respective counsel that the above caption action is voluntarily dismissed with prejudice against the defendants, Bradley Garlinghouse, Chris Larson, and without cause pursuant to rule of the federal stipulation of voluntary. There it is. There it is. This is some good stuff. Jeremy Hogan says here, being sued is not fun. It keeps you up at night. It's always in the back of your mind, and it's always in the back of your mind. So very happy for Brad and Chris, and that's enough for now. Okay, yes, he says, Jeremy Hogan, this does make a full settlement much more likely, as the only legal question left is how big a check Ripple writes to the SEC. He said, there, I said it. Are you happy now? XRP Communities from Fred Rispoli, another attorney from the XRP community. Lots of implications here, and quite a few ways this litigation can still go. All bad for the SEC, and only a few somewhat bad for Ripple. Really needs a verbal breakdown, but here's a summary of my thoughts. First, is the dismissal the SEC acknowledging just that its case against Brad and Chris was horse crap, or did it include the realization that the court no longer found the SEC credible in general? That would be my guess. Because, we said on this channel from day one, Alex G. and Keyless, during this case, we said the second that Judge Netburn, I believe, Sarah Netburn, said that the SEC had no faithful allegiance to the law. When she made that statement, she made it public, she put it on record that every single judge, attorney, courthouse was on notice. That was on the record. And it was not going to be an attorney or a judge or a courthouse that was going to allow the SEC and come into their house and make a mockery of their house. The word had been put out. You don't want to be the judge or the courthouse that lets the SEC make a mockery of your house. So when, I believe it was Judge Netburn who said that. Once she said that, it was just all downhill from that. In my humble opinion. Okay, the former suggests lengthy, bitter briefings in the remedy stage and an appeal. The latter suggests a final settlement is at hand. So I believe that's what it is. So he's saying that the former is, the SEC may still continue to do something, and that the latter, and that the court is saying that the SEC has lost its credibility in general, would lead to a settlement. And that's what I think is headed, in my humble opinion. Because remember, Judge Torres's thing says her ruling, just listen, her ruling flat out says XRP. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not a playbook out there for other digital assets that may be attacked by the SEC. but this ruling was about the digital asset XRP, SPACs and circumstances around XRP. Other tokens, I believe the SEC is not going to want to give up, this is what I'm trying to say, give up their enforcement action leverage. They don't want to give that up. They don't want to give that up. So to me, the settlement would allow them to continue to do it, in my opinion. All right, so considering that, says Fred Basoli, while I understand exactly how Brad and Chris felt while being sued and would wanted to end ASAP, it was crystal clear they'd win. It was crystal clear they would win the lawsuit and expose the SEC. Fred is saying, so why agree to voluntarily dismiss, even with prejudice, without more? Makes me lean towards a prediction that a final settlement with Ripple is the more likely option. Absolutely. While the letter states the parties are conferring on a remedies briefing schedule, my guess is settlement amounts are flying back and forth between the lawyers as I type. That's exactly right. So that is great news. Colin Hughes, thank you so much for sharing that, my friend. I appreciate you. That's absolutely, well, what am I doing? That's absolutely big news. And I'm happy for Brad and Chris. Like, people may not notice it. We know it. People might not know it, but this was a fight for the asset space as a whole, because there was a clear overreach. There was a clear abuse of power by a three-letter alphabet group from the United States government. Bottom line, let us not forget that this is the U.S. government. You can say it was the SEC. It was the U.S. government. It was the U.S. government versus Ripple. We can't forget that. Operation Choke Point is not some catchphrase. It's a real deal. You know, we can go back and forth about why, how come. You know, my mentor used to say to me, you know, I wouldn't take that class. You know, why is the sun rise in the east and set in the west? I wouldn't stay up late night trying to think about why that is. It's just the way it is. Operation Choke Point's a real deal. And we got to do what we can to get out of it and around it and beat it down. Oh, yeah, that's a great point, Keyless. Keyless make a great point here about the governments. The governments may not siege, but I've lived in different continents in the private sector side. When it comes down to charity and helping and bringing aid, no one did it as much as Americans. Yep, and because we were number one, we could afford to do some stuff. We could afford to do some stuff without question. MB, what's going on, my friend? So it's the voluntary dismissal settlement is, I don't know, it just feels like it's just on the way. Oh, Mr. XRP did it. Oh, Mr. XRP all in. Thank you, my friend. It was actually you who did that. Who let us know about it. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, bro. Big time. So there it is, word on the street. Guys, you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I got a few minutes to ask some questions, answer any questions that you might have. If it's something that you want to know about my personal views on political aspirations, on what's going on in current events like this madness with the Palestine and Israel or Ukraine, what do I think about David Schwartz? What do you think about in-house fighting in the XRP community? Just let me know. Ask away. Ask away. I'm happy for Brad and Chris. And this settlement, sure. And John Deaton has been saying this for a while, just get them to write a check. The SEC is going to take it as a win. As soon as they get that check, the SEC is going to tout that thing as a win. We all know it. We all know it. And I think the SEC is going to take the check as a win, and then they're going to continue with the nonsensical enforcement actions. Mr. MB says, AMM's the future. What do you think? I do think the automated market maker that's right now it's in limbo as to whether or not it will be approved. In fact, David Schwartz and 2 or 3 other people from Ripple and or Ripple X are doing a Twitter Spaces. It's going to be a live Twitter Spaces about the AMM. But me personally, I think the AMM is it's genius innovation. It's going to pass. If not this time, it'll pass eventually. I think it is the game changer for DeFi, for tokenization, for liquidity pools, because David Schwartz has always said that XRP's value proposition lies in its liquidity pools. It's a liquidity thing. Now, whether or not it's the most liquid asset doesn't matter, but what does matter, what makes it more liquid, in my opinion, is how it can move money. It can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. That whole dynamic, to me, makes it more liquid than anything else. Bitcoin can't say that. Just because you come in and out of the digital asset space and your first entries into Bitcoin, Bitcoin can't say that. So some people would argue that Bitcoin is more liquid or Ethereum is more liquid. Cool. But here's what I'll say to you. Bitcoin and Ethereum don't have a blockchain that can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. And those things matter. In terms of liquidity, the speed of money is absolutely ginormous. You can't just overlook that just because institutions want to hold Bitcoin. You can't overlook that. So I think the AMM is the future. Listen, I know we've been in the space for a while. If you participated in DeFi, it's so casual to say automated market maker. It's just something that you say. No, this AMM is next freaking level. And if you are willing to participate in it with a portion of your assets, no one wants to be YOLOing in, and no one expects you to be YOLOing in all of your XRP on anything, in anything. But participate with the percentage, and portfolio management is absolutely game changing. I personally believe it's going to be one of the best ways to create passive income. I really do believe that. I do believe that. I believe that automated market maker and that decentralized exchange being on the ledger, it's built in, it's native. It's built in and it's native, is an absolute freaking game changer. Like, it's a game changer. Hope that answers your question, MB. Keela says, Ceej, or CJ, what made you go into air traffic control? Sorry off topic, but was always curious. Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, when I left right out of high school and joined the United States military, my intention was to be in avionics. My background of the high school that I went to was a specialized high school in New York. There's only 3 of them. There's Bronx High School of Math and Science, or Science. There was Stuyvesant High School, and then there was Brooklyn Technical High School. Though all 3 of those schools were called specialized high schools, you had to test in to get into them, and they majored in math, science, engineering. And so I went to Brooklyn Tech and got into engineering. And I was really always excited about aviation, right? So I was supposed to go into Navy in avionics. It was no class available. So I went in with what they call non-designated. So I went in without a career. No established school training that I was going to go into. I went in undesignated under the guise, come to find out, that, oh yeah, you'll just be able to get something once you get in. So I got very, very fortunate. So what they did in boot camp is they gave you 2 opportunities if you went in non-designated to sit with a counselor, a quote unquote career counselor, who would help you find a occupation or specialty. It was just kind of a check the box thing that the United States Navy's, which I served, where I served, allow you to do. And I'll never forget it. The first time I went in, it was, dude was just checking boxes, not really interested in kind of helping. The second time, however, for some odd, strange reason, I'm not sure why, this dude had red hair, and like freckles, and somehow looked through a paperwork enough to realize that I was from Brooklyn and that where I went to school. And he was from New York as well. And all of a sudden we got this conversation, and we're hitting it off, right? We are hitting it off. Anyway, so he tells us, so what do where do you want? I saw like aviation, and I really want to get in avionics. And he's like, again, this was a no conversation at all the first meeting. And now we're just hitting it off. We're like best buds. And he's telling about these different aviation jobs. I'm like, I really want to get in avionics. And he looked it up and he said, well, there's still no available slots for that school. Right. So that was the, equipment on airplanes that I wanted to work on, electronic equipment on airplanes. So he said, what else? And I'm like, anything in aviation. He listed like 3 things. And one of them was air traffic control. And I thought to myself, that sounds cool. I said, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be air traffic controller. And he went into this long dissertation, long speech about, yeah, you don't want to do that one, man. It's like, everybody's falling out of the classes, they're failing. I'm like, everybody's falling out of class and they're failing, right? I'm like, how is that possible? How hard is it, Keyless? How hard is it to do this? Right? How hard is it to That's what I'm thinking, right? That's what I'm thinking air traffic control is. And this dude is telling me about, everybody's failing. 65% of the people aren't making it. I'm like, what? Doing this and wearing that thing over your head? Like, that did not make any sense for me. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm pretty sure I can get through. I'm pretty sure I can get through, that. So, I'm pretty sure I can get through that. So anyway, so he hooked me up. He got me a slot for that. And that's how I became an air traffic controller of the United States Navy. It's so funny. A little side note is, the first day we get to school, they call it in Tennessee, they had this, it's like I want to say meet and greet, but it's like your first meeting. They bring in the base commander, they bring in all the officers of the school, and to kind of give you like your introduction, because, and this guy was a Marine and a Navy guy, whatever, officers in the front of the room, and they start going into this rah-rah speech, and I'm like, you're the Navy's finest, you're aviation's finest. Air traffic controllers are Navy's finest. You are the elite of the elite. Officers look up to you. And I'm like, what the world? Of course, it was the pilots, officers that look up to you. I'm like, what? Look, then they go into, the Marine guy goes into this, look to your left and look to your right. Those dudes aren't going to be around. This is a highly specialized thing, and most of you ain't going to make it. I'm like, what? Most of you ain't going to make it? I'm not getting it. Anyway, so I think that was like a Friday, and you come back on a Monday. Next thing you know, they start showing us around, and they bring us into this room, this dark room, right? They bring us this dark room, and they got what looked like, I thought they were just like a glorified computer. I was like a glorified computer, right? They got them in this room, in this dark room, and it's got this thing around there, and it's got this beeping, and this thing that's moving around. And I'm like, what the world is going on with that? And then on the side of this monstrosity, there was these headphones hanging off. They had a little hook for the headphones, and it was on everything. And they asked us to put those things on. And then they said, turn these things, put your headphones on, and they want you to send these little dots in these little quarter. One was to the north, one was to the east, one was to the south, and one in the west. And I'm like, what? And then they had the instructor say, yeah, just use these numbers that are around the circle on this big computer. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's air traffic control. Yeah, that's how I learned it. That's how I became air traffic controller. And those instructors of that first day were right. 65% of the people did not make it. And I think our class was fairly small. It was 22, and only 8 of us made it out there alive. Come to find out, it was the same numbers for civilian air traffic controllers as well. Isn't that crazy? And I had the same odds going to civilian air traffic controller as well. And I went to the highest level of facilities in all the FAA. My first facility. I didn't go into those small little test the waters. I didn't do that. I went to the highest level facility in all of the FAA, my first facility. Which just led me to believe that I was blessed. Someone was looking after me, and I just had a natural ability to make sure planes do not run into each other. Looking good and doing it. Ceej, you from New York? Yes, sir. What's going on? Looking good, doing it. Born and raised in Brooklyn, babe. Ceej says that's what Keela says. That's what you thought it was. That's exactly what I thought it was. I thought it was the dudes parking the planes. I'm like, I can do that. Now I'm picturing it on the aircraft carrier. That's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing it, on the carriers, right? United States Navy. I'm picturing them dudes. It looks so cool. I'm thinking, man, I would love to do that. Be around planes, and I could do this, and I can help them, get off the thing. I thought that's what it was. Buddy. Yeah. She says, Keela says, that's funny. If you really knew, would you still have picked it? Yes. To me, it sounds very scary, very technical, and no margin of error, et cetera. Yep, all those things. I just, my makeup just suited being air traffic control very, very well. Kind of cool and calm, collected under pressure. It's kind of always been my thing. Communication always been my thing. It's kind of that natural communicator with people. So I was able to build relationships with pilots. Like there's a relationship going on when they check on your frequency, right? And so, I learned it and developed it, I should say, in the Navy. And by the time I became a civilian air traffic controller, I was confident, I was young. So this whole 65% thing for the FAA didn't matter to me. I knew I was going to get through, type deal. Inkpin 27. Hey, Ceej, 4 years at Coronado, San Diego. Really? No kidding. How about that? 4 years. I hear you, my friend. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I got into air traffic control. Any other questions? I can do one more question. I can do one more before we hop off here. It's been really, really cool. Look, this is Talk That Talk Thursdays. We're going to get into it every single Thursday. We'll talk world events. We'll talk political stuff. We'll talk what's kind of going on in the world. It's going to be a really, really cool hang. It's going to be a really, really fun thing to do for sure. And perhaps maybe even a little more lighter side. But I think it's considering all things that are going on today, I think it's important to kind of share some stuff. Yeah, I appreciate you guys being here for my first episode of Talk That Talk. Talk That Talk. Yep. Keela says, it's funny how you refer to normal stuff as civilian. Yeah, it's that military background. Yep. Yep. What did you do, Inkpin 27 in Coronado, San Diego? You said, oh, AO, really? I love it. Thanks for your service, my friend. Thanks for your service. AO, yeah, indeed. Yep. Aviation, man. I was lucky I guessed right on that whole aviation thing. I just guessed right. I could have been doing a lot of other stuff, right? I guess it was that whole, avionics and engineering thing. But I am glad I went aviation route for sure. XRP is pumping. Yeah. Brian Chris got that dismissal. Oh, did you hear about that? They dropped the case against Chris Lawson and Brad Garlinghouse, the SEC. Voluntary dismissal of the case is dismissed. Means both sides agreed to dismiss it, which is just interesting. It's interesting. Some great stuff. Any other questions? Ask me anything. You can ask me anything. The lawsuit is over against Brad and Chris Lawson. Mr. XRP All In shared that. I thought it was Colin who did that. Yeah, so ask me anything here. I got a couple more minutes. And guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this episode of Talk That Talk. What do you think about that? Will you guys be interested in checking in on Thursdays? It's always going to be a live stream. We're gonna have we'll have some tough conversations, I'm sure. Talking about Black Lives Matter is not, I'm sure that it could be difficult to talk about, could be. But I think, that ability to agree to disagree, I think it's important. And have a conversation. What DeFi are you in, Ceej, right now, that is? DeFi that I'm still on a lot of the phantom things like Beefy Finance. It's a lot of the phantom ecosystem in DeFi. I'm still in there. And I am still in what is that thing? The Wand Chain ecosystem. I like it over there. I'm not doing any of the Zoo stuff, but I do like Wand Chain. I think it's a next level blockchain. So I'm over there as well. But I like the phantom ecosystem. It's kind of died down. Small percentage, small amount on Thor chain. Very small in Arbitrum. Nothing in Optimism. Very small in ZK Sync as well. Will DeFi be here as long as I'm not on it? Well, we'll definitely be here as long as I'm not on a work thing. Oh, appreciate that. Keela says she's going to be checking in on the throwback Thursdays. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, it's our first one. We'll get into better. We'll fine tune it. We'll get it going really, really good for sure. But we're going to cover some very, very interesting topics. And then eventually we'll get to have some people on and interview them as well. MB says, is an XRP spot ETF possible? I would not see any reason why it would not be possible. Keela said, did you hear about Base Chain? You talking about Coinbase's thing? Yep. Carol, DeFi is on there now and people are buzzing about it. So you're talking about Coinbase's thing, right? The Base Chain, Keyless, that's what you're talking about? Yep, I definitely heard about it. I got on there. I think I did some bridging. Like I bridged some ETH on there. But yeah, MB, I don't think there's any reason why the XRP spot ETF would not happen. I'm not sure in which order. Obviously, the Bitcoin one is going to be the big one for sure. Yep. Base is going to be interesting. I don't know if Coinbase will ever do anything. A lot of people participate in stuff because they think there's going to be some kind of airdrop potential. I bridged a little bit of ETH, but other than that, I haven't been on there much. I use the Coinbase wallet to do some things there. Oh, there it is. So what bridge? What bridge did you use for Base? I used the Base Chain Siege. I just used the Coinbase wallet to bridge over. Yeah, you can pull up the app and they have a bridge there and you can bridge to Base. And that was a while ago, almost, I'm going to say within the first week of it launching. All right, fam, look, I'm going to head off here, man. It's been a really, really cool hang. I know we're right about an hour. I appreciate you guys trusting me to lead something outside of crypto and Talk Thursday. I really do appreciate that for sure. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. It's always been a cool hang to hang out with you guys. My guy, Inkpen 27, served United States Navy. That's very, very cool. And it's been a really, really cool hang. I look forward to doing more of these for sure. Don't forget about the Patreon if you're interested in learning different forms of passive income, whether it be through DeFi and traditional finance, creating generational wealth. We're going to be all over that in the Patreon group. It is patreon.com/GWW Mastermind, which is for Generational Wealth Wednesdays Mastermind. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much. That mastermind is really, really cool. Got an exclusive interview with Mickey B. Fresh. Really deep and insightful insights from Raoul Paul. That was really, really cool. I shared my thoughts on that video as well. All right, guys, look, I'm going to end this one. MB says, I like the new format. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon, MB. I'm going to end this live stream like I do all my live streams. Remind you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye. Bye.